Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali. On today's show we will review the weekend Serie A action, a 6-goal thriller at the Olimpico between Roma and Juventus. A late goal from Federico Gatti just about keeps Juventus in the top 4 race, otherwise it would have been bye-bye to their top 4 chances. Como are flying. Atalanta suffer a shock loss, while Inter respond to their Champions League exit with another Serie A win and another Federico Dimarco masterclass. Milan leave it late ahead of this weekend's Milan derby. We'll preview the Coppa Italia semi-finals and we'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. We have some really great ones, great stories there, so definitely stick around for those. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast, receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including our free Monday review show, our weekly Q&A, where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then patreon.com TIFP is a place to go. Become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month. You can also go to YouTube and watch our free episodes and shorter clips there, and you can become a patron on YouTube memberships. So just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@itafootpod. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. So wherever you consume us, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, we really appreciate if you follow us, subscribe to us, like us, give us a 5-star rating because that really helps us to grow. And also follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, where we've just hit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're on 10K now, and we're racing towards 10K subs on YouTube as well. So, yeah, thank you, everybody.
10K on TikTok is particularly impressive, considering the fact that me and you are both old. We don't have a clue about how TikTok runs. We're both technologically challenged, and we just bitch about kids all the time, and that's a platform for kids. So it's quite ironic.
Yeah, 10.2K in 10 months on a platform we don't understand and don't know how it works. So
yeah. So there you go, kids. See, right. Let's kick off with Roma versus Juventus. Let's start off with Juventus. So this was an amazing game, 3-3. It was a thriller, fantastic match for the neutral to watch, no doubt about it. Juventus are just about still in the top 4 race, thanks to that last gasp equalizer in injury time from Federico Gatti. Juventus recover from 3-1 down with 12 minutes to go to rescue a 3-3 draw. Before the game, Juventus really needed to win this game because they were 4 points. They remained 4 points behind Roma in the race for the top 4. It's still going to be very difficult for Juventus to get into that top 4, but it would have been impossible without that late comeback and that late goal from Gatti. And it means that they are still in with a chance. They're going to have an amazing end to the season. They're going to have to overhaul Roma, who have an easier run in, and Como, who we'll talk about, who are on fire at the moment. But you have to, I think, given the circumstances and the context of this game, I think you have to give Juventus a lot of credit for their character, which is something the players spoke about after the game, to come back from 3-1 down at the Olimpico to a Roma team that played really well for the majority of this game until the end. And we'll come to Roma. They'll kick themselves for letting this game go. I think you have to give Juventus a lot of credit, just like we had to in the Galatasaray game. The circumstances, they went into this game having played 120 minutes against Galatasaray, an exhausting game, emotionally, physically, having played with 10 men for over 75 minutes on the back of 3 games recently, in recent weeks, where they played with 10 men for long periods of those games, having suffered injustices, being down to red cards. So they've had everything, go against them recently. Decisions, bad luck, and to come back, given all those circumstances, and get a draw, I have to give them credit for that. So I have to say, well done. That's that's the positive side of things. The negative side of things is we can talk about bad luck. We can talk about the refereeing. I think generally this season the refereeing has gone against Juventus. But if you're conceding 20 goals in 7 games, which they have done in the last 7 games, you have to look at yourselves. And the bottom line is that in this game again, Juventus's defending was horrendous. And you can't look at anything else other than yourselves if you want to move forward. If you're conceding 20 goals in 7 games, it's just not good enough. And we saw that again in this game. Some of the defending was not good enough. So it's a difficult way to look at it. There's the positive and the negative here.
I think I don't know what I would do, but what I will tell you is that if Juventus don't make the Champions League, obviously financially it's a disaster. There's no doubt about that. It's Armageddon. But for a club that keeps bleeding in the red every year. But one thing though is, even if they don't make it to the Champions League, whether or not they should continue with Spalletti is the discussion is, well, you have to look at, okay, well, is there something to build from? And is Spalletti the right man? Well, when you do these unbelievable comebacks and they refuse, even if they're 2 goals down, 3 goals down on aggregate, whatever, and they still never fight, that means that there is an understanding and belief between this team and the coach, and that there is something there to build from. And you have to make a tough choice. Do you continue with that even without the Champions League, or do you decide to go say that, okay, Spalletti, thank you, you did your best, but the results aren't good enough. We want someone else to build from that. There's always a risk involved with all these decisions. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is also, okay, so there's fight in them, but they concede way, way, way too many goals. Is that a personnel issue? Is that a structural issue? Is it all of the above? Can we afford to fix it in the summer if we miss the Champions League, or do we need someone else? And these are questions that you will have to answer pretty quickly. It seems to me that they've decided to continue with Spalletti. And if they have to marry that project properly. We can't be here in 8-9 months' time, and then once more, they sack Spalletti and they have to start over. They can't do that. They need to marry a project and see it through. And they can't afford to make any mistakes either. Because one thing that happens when you start sacking coaches like this is that you kind of give the players a little bit too much power, in the sense that, well, you absolve them of responsibility. It's like, okay, well, then do they just bring a new guy in? So they need to find the right balance here. Chiellini and whoever else is in charge here, it needs to find the right balance here.
I think they need to start planning now. I actually wrote some notes here while it was 3-1, and I was ready to say, right, Juventus are out of the Champions League, because they would have been out of the Champions League with a loss, 7 points. I started writing, so I said, Juventus need to start planning for next season now. They're out of the Champions League. Plan now. I actually wrote down sack Comely, which I still believe that they need to do, and bring in now appoint replacements for these people, but also start your negotiating for the mercato, both ins and outs, and do it now. We're now at the start of March. I actually think they should do that now anyway. I think that they should start now, planning for next season now, and plan it from the point of view that they're not going to qualify for the Champions League. And then, if they do manage to get in the Champions League, then they've got an extra budget to play with. What they can't do is wait till May, till June, like they did last season, waiting to see if they get in the Champions League, which they did, but then it's too late for them to do anything, and they're bringing in directors too late through the changes, which maybe they'll need to make again, because Comely has been a disaster. Maybe Elkan doesn't carry on. If they start replacing these directors and then start doing their business too late, we're just going to have a rinse and repeat again. I agree. I think they should stick with Spalletti. The players clearly aren't good enough to be able to do everything that he wants, but we have seen his print. We've seen a lot of positives. Apart from the defense is a disaster right now. 20 goals in 7 games is horrendous. Structurally, I think there is some structural issues. I think the midfield, that 2-man midfield of Thuram and Locatelli is, as outstanding as Locatelli has been individually, he's never and still ever been a kind of a holding midfielder in terms of being able to protect the defence. Thuram has had a bit of a so-so season. I think structurally that's not working. And then as for the defence, after watching Lloyd Kelly, okay, was obviously, I don't want to blame him for what happened in the Champions League, but this game, don't want to hear anyone say, watch that third goal for Marlon, the way that he gets destroyed by Marlon for that goal. I don't want to hear anyone say, but Lloyd Kelly's been really good for Juventus. Maybe we were a little bit hard on him. Lloyd Kelly's not Juventus material, and this is the mentality. This is obviously the fans need to, but the club needs to have. They need to look at the players and say, maybe they've been quite good. You know, McKennie's been pretty good this season, but they need to. Are these Juventus quality players? At the end of the day, Juventus are in 6th place now. They're fighting again for the 5th year running or 6th year running just to get in the top 4. That tells you something is wrong. So they need to start the planning now. But it definitely should be with Spalletti. I really believe that. And yeah, they need to look further ahead. I mean, the other things we learned from this game. Well, we didn't learn anything new, but what was reinforced. Juventus need a new goalkeeper in the summer. I mean, Didi Gregorio has now been dropped for Perin. Perin is not as good as he was a couple of years ago. He's declined as well. I think a top goalkeeper saves that first one from Wesley. As outstanding strike as it was, look at where it was. It wasn't in the top corner. He gets 2 hands to it. A better goalkeeper with a better starting position and a bigger wingspan. Like Donnarumma probably catches that because he's got bigger wingspan. He's got quite small little arms. He's a bit like Jordan Pickford. He's got T-Rex arms. You know, they didn't expand enough for that. So the goalkeeper, absolutely, because if Juventus have conceded 20 goals in 7 games, I do think the goalkeeper plays a role in that. Also, Yildiz, I'm going to say it again. I'm the first person that said this. I'm going to repeat myself for the 4th or 5th time now. Yildiz needs to improve his finishing massively. His finishing is not good enough. He doesn't score enough goals because of his poor finishing. And that needs to improve because Juventus have needed Yildiz during this run of games, which they lost to Inter, went out to Galatasaray, lost to Como, drew this game. Yildiz hasn't delivered in terms of the end product, in terms of goals in these games. But he's played well in a lot of these games. He's had great moments, and there's no doubt in the talent. He's not scoring. He needs to score because Juventus needed him to score in these games. He didn't do it because his finishing is poor. That he needs to improve. Again, he will improve. He's going to be a world-class player. But right now, that's actually kind of cost Juventus a little bit. And not enough has been shone on that. We can shine the light on, Kelly and all these other players that are not good enough. But yeah, that has been a disappointment. And the only other thing I want to say about Juventus is Jeremy Boga. I think they should keep him. He's actually been really, really good since he came. He scored. He's actually always played well. He's always made an impact. He beats his man. He creates trouble. And I actually think he's a perfect vice Yildiz. He's perfect for them. And they've even been playing together. He's been really good. And I think Spalletti, he's a kind of Spalletti player. Spalletti likes those left-sided players that can beat their man. We saw that with Kvara. We've seen that with other players going back to Roma in the past, Mancini, and these kind of players. So I think that they should keep Boga. I think he's actually been a positive, a big positive from January.
I agree. I think Boga for sure should stay. Chico Conceicao scored an absolutely magical goal. We saw some absolute bangers this weekend, which we'll talk about later. But he scored one of them, a brilliant goal.
For once, because Conceicao doesn't score, and he said after the game he needs to score more and finish more. That's what's. I do believe he's capable of it, Conceicao as well. But yeah, should we talk about Roma anyway? Because they'll be kicking themselves, won't they?
Yeah, they will be kicking themselves, but at the same time, I thought, I think they're overperforming. They are now 3 points clear of Como. That game against Como is going to be massive. Juventus are 4 points behind. They're not out of it, but so they will be kicking themselves because they could have gotten rid of Juventus. They could have just narrowed it down to just Como. But I think that I just find it really difficult to criticize Roma because I think they are massively overperforming. And I think they're doing absolutely a brilliant job. And they are, 51 points after 27 matches, 16 wins, 3 draws, 8 losses, and only conceded 19. And most of those 19 goals have come against the big sides. They've got so many
in a clump
sheets.
of games. They've had those goals have been conceded in a clump of games, haven't they? And then they've just been clean sheet.
Yeah. And it's again goes to show how good Gasperini is at like getting this team to perform at its absolute best. I'm really impressed. I love the Marlen is just, he is perfect for this system. Another wonderful goal. Yeah, he has, and he's exactly the kind of player that Roma should be getting when they've got someone like Gasperini. So no, I think Roma are looking really good. I think Ndika was awesome. Wesley, Zeki Shelik. I hope they can be able to keep him. Wesley, I think that was a wonderful goal. I agree with you to a certain extent that you need a world-class goalkeeper to save that. So no, Pisili again, another assist. Corner. Wow, what a player! Like the assist as well. It's just he's such a perfect midfielder. Like every team, he's one of those players that has the characteristics that if he can, polish that diamond, he walks into pretty much every team in the Serie A, if not all of Europe, because of those characteristics that he's got. He's such a complete midfielder, box to box, very physically strong, technically solid, great read of the game, great passer, good finisher as well. No, Roma have a diamond on their hands, and for Roma's sake, I hope they're able to keep him. If they make the Champions League, that makes life much easier for them.
The FFP,
and at this point, I kind of hope that they do. But just Pellegrini, I just have to say that miss, yikes. But he still played well. But yeah, it's no. You see.
Roma were the better team until the last kind of like 15 minutes, and then I think it was a bit of a mental thing. I think because definitely they should have been physically a lot better than you, and they were until then. Physically, they were the better team than Juventus and that's inevitable. Juventus played 120 minutes, most of it with 10 men a few days before, so it was inevitable, and that's why I thought Roma would win this game before the game. I said it last week. I thought Roma would win this game. I think it was a bit of a mental, not collapse, but they showed a side of them which you don't expect under Gasperini, and that kind of once Juventus got that. But that second goal from Boga, we saw them retreat and get nervous, and Juventus pushed on, and Juventus got the equalizer. So overall, though, the performance was really good, and you're right, they're overperforming based on the personnel. But since Marlen has joined, they're no longer overperforming results versus performances, which they were at the start of the season. The start of the season, they were picking up a lot of points, a lot of clean sheets, and it wasn't deserved, a lot of that. If you compare chances created, both teams, XG against, they were getting results, and we said at the time that's not sustainable. We also said, however, if they start performing better, or maybe buy a striker in January, then the performances improve. Maybe it can be sustainable. Right now, the performances, if they keep performing the way that they are, there's a massive chance they'll get that 4th place. You have to say well done to them. And Gasperini has done an amazing job. He's done an amazing job. He really has.
He really has. It's so impressive, and it's nice to see, because I think Ranieri and Gasperini, kind of the Altmeisters of Italian football, like they just show how they know what they're doing. They're solid. Ranieri walked into an absolute disaster, calmed everything down. Now he's kind of running things, this calming presence from behind the scenes. Gasperini's walked into a very difficult situation with not really having personnel that he's happy with, and made it work, and is getting the results. Now, and then kind of in two fronts as well, because they're in the round of last 16 in the Europa League, finishing in the top 8. They're playing Bologna, which annoyed me. That means at least one team in the quarterfinal.
Really annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, that also, the other flip side of that is, okay, you have at least one Italian side in the quarterfinal of the Europa League, which is good. But look,
that could play a role with Roma, depending. I mean, he didn't seem like he wanted to take the Europa League that seriously, Gasperini, from what he's said before. Maybe because he won it 2 years ago, he's not bothered.
Yeah.
But it depends kind of how seriously and how far Roma go, because that could also have an impact on this top 4 race. If they start taking the Europa League seriously and they go deep and they get into semi-finals and finals, even though, to be honest with you, looking at the standard of those teams in there, it's not particularly strong Europa League this year, to be honest. So they could go far. Maybe they do try and win it. Why not? They definitely built up the European experience over these years with great results.
No, absolutely.
So why shouldn't they? But yeah, that's something they're going to have to decide. I mean,
but at the same time, when I'm looking at the games they've got left in the Serie A, they have Inter, they have Como, they have Atalanta, they have Lazio. The last, penultimate round, they've got Lazio in the derby. And a Fiorentina that's chasing for their lives to avoid a relegation. So I wonder, because, like you said, you're looking at the teams in the Europa League. It's not important. It's not impossible for them to get to the final of the Europa League. And remember, lest we forget, if you win the Europa League, you get a spot in the Champions League. So that's also a route for them. So I think that they should start taking the Europa
League. For them, it could also be good for Italy. If they don't get the top 4, then we get an extra place. Would be nice, wouldn't it? But listen, I think the top 4 right now, like Como won again, right? Como won comfortably. Again, they beat Lecce 3-1, but Atalanta suffered a shock defeat at Sassuolo, despite Sassuolo playing with 10 men since the 16th minute. So that was a big shock. So that leaves the top 4 situation. I think, look, Inter and obviously Milan, I think they're pretty much
and Napoli. Well, I don't think Napoli.
Let me read out the table. Right, Napoli are on 3rd in 53 points. Roma 4th with 51. Como 5th, 48. Juventus 6th, 47. Then Atalanta 7th with 45. I think Napoli, we're talking about fixture list. Napoli have the easiest fixture list by a mile. They should have no problems at all getting the top 4 based on their fixture list. They've got a really, really quite easy running, and they're playing once a week with Antonio Conte. They're starting to get their injured players back. They won't have a problem at all. I'm no doubt about it. I think Atalanta, we can rule out. They're on 45 points, and they've got the hardest running in terms of fixture lists by a mile out of all these teams, and they're still in the Champions League, and they've got some injuries. We can rule them out as well. So really, it comes down to, for me, it comes out of Roma, Como, and Juventus for that 4th place. Yeah. Of course, Juventus are outsiders because they're 4 points behind. Juventus have a harder fixture list than Roma. Juventus still have to go away to Milan, away to Atalanta. Como, I need to check their fixture list, but so it's out of those 3. But I think I would make Roma. I think you have to make Roma favourites right now. But Como, as we'll speak about now, Como are on fire, aren't they? They're looking really good. They easily beat Lecce 3-1, having beaten Juventus the game before, and then they play Inter in the Coppa Italia. They're looking really, really good, Como.
They are, and it's for them. It's a little bit like with Roma. Excuse me, like with Roma in the sense that they have a very good fixture list. I would argue that Como have the best fixture list. They only have Roma. Other than that, and Inter. Other than that, Pisa, Udinese, Sassuolo, Genoa. Okay, they got Napoli, Parma, Verona, Cremonese. So 3 out of 10 difficult games, or 11 difficult games, and it's they're in the Coppa Italia as well, which a title would mean so much for this project. And I think now that Fabregas is no longer playing like an ideologue, and actually, as I call him, Allegri gas, gone a bit Allegri on us all after that loss to Allegri, where he's going pragmatic, then that could cause Kivu and Inter problems. And again, a trophy for them.
Roma is going to be the big one, isn't it? Is going to be a big one, isn't it?
That's the decider.
That's a
Because not
huge
just
one.
that.
I mean, Juventus will
That's
be
a
praying
huge
for
one.
Juventus will be praying for a draw. But if Roma
Well, that's
beat
exactly what I'm saying.
If Roma beat Como, that's 6 points, and then we could say, well, we've almost kicked them out. But if Como win, then it's it's all up for grabs. If it's a draw, that's great for Juventus. So it's that's going to be definitely going to be a big one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big one because that could open the door for Juve as well. So I'd say that Como, Roma, and Juve kind of have
Roma
the same.
and Como have an easier fixture list than Juventus because Juventus have got tough away games. But yeah, we'll see. Those head-to-heads are going to be definitely going to be massive. Atalanta though, big disappointment, but it just again goes to show what can happen after a big Champions League game where you exert yourself physically. The emotion of that incredible late win, 4-1, the penalty in the 98th minute. I think that took its toll. And but having played though against 10 men since the 16th minute, but if you actually watch this game, which I did, you can't say this was a smash and grab or anything. It was Sassuolo deserved it. They deserved to win this game. They were the better team, even with 10 men. So yeah, it's a surprise because Atalanta were unbeaten in 2026. Before this, they were really picking up. I actually blame Palladino in this game. I think he made the mistake of not rotating after that Dortmund game. He should have rotated, no doubt about it. Because we talk about it on this podcast. The team are going to be so confident after getting this result, the way it happened. They're going to be, and then we see that the physical side is more important nowadays than the mental side in terms of coming after these big games and playing a few days later. How many times in the last few weeks have we sat here on this podcast and go, the nature of that result or that game is going to kick them on? We said it about Inter after beating Juventus, after all the polemics. We said it about Juventus in the same game. The next games, what happened? They both got hammered by teams in the Champions League. We're saying it about Atalanta after this game, you'd think. And then look what happens in the next game. So it just shows that managers do need to rotate after these physically and emotionally exerting matches. And I think Palladino made a mistake here.
I agree. I think he did make a mistake. But at the same time, my thing is, he's a reasonably young coach. He's trying to balance. It's his first season in the Champions League. He took over mid-season. I think Atalanta overall should be, the fact that they will finish easily. They'll finish in the top 7. They could potentially even finish 6th. They're still in the Coppa Italia. If they get to the final of the Coppa Italia and play Inter or a Como who's in the Champions League, it looks good for them to get to the Europa League at least. And if they don't, they'll go to the Conference League. And if they go to the Conference League, they're going to win that. I mean, it's just that simple. They are too good for the Conference League, and they have to win that. And that will be another impressive feat for Atalanta, who continues to win in Europe. I mean, it's crazy. So I hope they go deep in the Champions League. I hope they cause an upset, which is very slim chance, but it's possible. I'm not ready to completely count them out of the top 4, but I don't think they've got a squad that's deep enough to compete on 3 fronts. And I think those matches in the Coppa Italia and Champions League will take their toll physically, not just mentally. And I think when you're Atalanta and you're in this situation, I think you just go for it. You try to go for it because they're not going to be in the Champions. Most likely that they're not going to be in the Champions League next season, so they might as well just go for it. It's no, I'm definitely I think overall it's been a decent season for them, and they're such a well-run club anyway financially. So missing the Champions League won't be a disaster for them, like it would for a Juve or an Inter or a Milan.
They're running. I ruled them out last week, even after they were on form. I said it on this pod, and that's because of their fixture list. Their fixture list is insane. They've got Inter away. They've got Juventus at home, Roma away, Milan away, Fiorentina away on the last day of the season. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's a horror.
Plus two matches in the Coppa Italia and the Champions League. Lazio and Bayern Munich, right? So it's going to take its toll.
And they've slipped up here in a game which is supposed to be one of the games that you'd expect them to win. So yeah, it's not going to happen. Napoli, though, as I've said already, I'm not going to repeat about the top 4. They're going to get top 4, but they did get a big goal and a big moment with Romelu Lukaku. Romelu Lukaku is back. His first goal of the season. He scores with the last kick of the game, 5th minute of injury time, and kind of showed, what they're missing with Lukaku. Lukaku scores goals. He has an impact. And especially against smaller teams. He's always beats up and bullies the smaller teams. He's still horribly out of shape, but it's still great to see Romelu Lukaku back, isn't it?
It is. It's nice for him to see what he can do. That he can kind of finish, because I don't expect him to stay at Napoli past this season. I think with Rasmus Højlund, who scored again in this goal, he's the top scorer for Napoli this season. I think he's been excellent. I think the future is through Højlund, not Lukaku, who has did what he's supposed to do. He got Napoli in the Champions League. He won them a Scudetto. So I think that is kind of I think Napoli will start to move away from Romelu Lukaku. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves already in the summer. He's got huge wages. I think that money would be wisely spent elsewhere. But yeah, no, it was nice to see him come back and score the winner. Napoli are starting to look a little bit more like themselves, even though I think defensively they are. It's not a Conte defense. It doesn't look like it. And I think Meret, I'm sorry, but they need to they can't. No. They need to. I mean, no. They've gotten the maximum out of him, to put it that way. Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, Rasmus Højlund is the future. And I think what more importantly, Napoli need to start looking at life after Lobotka as well. It's a changing of the guards, and I think they need to do that. And I wonder if Conte stays and if he is willing to accept that changing of the guards kind of structure. But if he isn't, then thank you.
I think he's going to stay. I think there is a recognition there at the club that they've been screwed by injuries this season, and we haven't really seen what they could have done. We can't really judge them properly because of all the injuries. That's not absolving Conte of blame, because the record his entire career speaks for itself. But I think that it would have been nice to judge Conte on this season, seeing how they've done without all these injuries. I mean, everyone has injuries, but Napoli has been a special case. Nobody can deny that there isn't a team in Serie A this season that's been affected like injuries like Napoli have this season. It's been to be without so many of your big stars for so long of the season as well. They're not just being like minor players. They're big pillars of the team, and been without them for so long. So I think there's a recognition there. But I've got a prediction though. Hot take. Napoli are going to take Milan second place before the end of the season. They're going to
really.
Yeah, that's my prediction. You heard it here. Look at this fixture list for Napoli: Torino home, Lecce home, Cagliari away, Milan home, Parma away, Lazio home, Cremonese home, Como away, Bologna home, Pisa away, Udinese home. That is a dream running. Yeah. I mean, Como away, of course, is a really difficult. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to win that. They might lose that. But Milan at home, they've got the home advantage. They're only 4 points behind Milan. And as we'll talk about now, Milan are they have been stuttering in the new year. So I think Napoli will take them. Playing once a week. I think they'll have a strong end to the season now.
It's an interesting one, because if they win at 11, they've got, that's 86. That's more than they had last season when they win the Scudetto. And I think it kind of speaks to your point about the recognition that, okay, if they get more points in the Serie A this season than they got last season, and if you take into consideration the injuries, that kind of absolves people. That absolves Conte for how, given everything that's happened. Not absolved, but it explains or contextualizes, and they can accept that, because finishing second or third with more points than they did when they won the Scudetto, they're still in the Champions League. It kind of gives them something to build from.
And I think a strong end to the season will also put Conte in a mood to be like, right, we're going to go into next season, and this is who we are. Come on, guys, this is what we've shown, what we can do. Of course, if it goes the other way and they have a bad end to the season, and they didn't play well in this game, by the way, they played pretty badly. So, I could be completely wrong. But I think that if they have a bad end to the season, then maybe the opposite happens. They think, well, bloody hell, even playing once a week, this easy running, and we play bad. So I think there is still some importance to the end of the season for Napoli. As for Verona, they're certainly going down now. I mean, I think they were already buggered going into this game already with a points difference, but now they're completely fucked. I mean, 12 without a win, and they're going to be heartbroken with the way they lost this game as well. So yeah, they're down.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I mean, Pisa and Hellas are going down. It depends if it's Lecce, Cremonese, and Fiorentina. I think that I'm looking at Cremonese.
Yeah, well, let's move on to Cremonese because they lost to Milan. Another late show. We're getting so many late goals, aren't we, this season in Serie A? Another, like every weekend, the games in recent weeks, the games have been decided. And again, this week, Juventus late goal, get a draw. The Napoli late goal, injury time, get a win. And here, 2 goals in injury time from Milan turn a 0-0 at Cremonese into a 2-0. Just to get Cremonese out of the way, 13 games without a win. 11 of those games they've been scoreless in, including this one, and they are level third bottom in the league with Lecce and Fiorentina. Although Fiorentina have a game in hand that they play on Monday, and I think Fiorentina will end up being fine. So I think it's out of Lecce and Cremonese, but Cremonese I think are looking like the favourites now to get that third relegation spot because there's just no sign at all of them coming out of this. I don't understand why they haven't sacked Davide Nicola. I think they should have sacked him at least a month ago. It makes no sense. They just need to bring someone in just to give them a bit of a bounce.
But I have to say, when we're talking about Cremonese and the relegation, which makes me happy because usually you yell at me and don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'm excited. There's nothing to talk about at the top.
No. I'm glad. I've welcome to the dark side. You know, that gif of Homer Simpson and Bart sitting, join us. So thank you for joining us on this side.
It seems like a good time in the world right now to join the dark side. Yeah.
No, but seriously, Lecce, they have, if you look at the fixture list, Cremonese have everything in their own hands. They have Lecce this weekend in the lunch match on Sunday, 12:30 CET. Then they have Fiorentina at home, Parma, Bologna, Cagliari, Torino, Napoli, Lazio, Pisa, Udinese, and Como. Those are not, like, they have everything in their own hands. They need to just focus on those games. The game against Lecce is going to be massive. If they win that, I feel confident enough to say that they will be able to navigate their way through this. I'm not saying they're going to clear it, but they got Pisa and Lecce. That's 6 points. That would really help them. And then you've got these, if they can draw against Fiorentina, pick up a few draws here and there, that means 8 points, and that means around 30, 31 points, which usually should be enough to stay up. So they have everything in their own hands.
Yeah, but they have to start scoring and picking up points. That's the big if. Well, as for Milan, look, and in the end, they deserved to win this game. They had so many big chances. Rafael Leao should have had 4 or 5 in this game. The number of misses, unbelievable. I mean, to be fair, he did have some great runs. He had one great run for, I think, the 4th big chance that he had in this game, but he couldn't miss the one at the end. But yeah, Milan at least created more in this game than they have done, because obviously that chance creation has been a bit of a problem. It's been a bit of an issue under Allegri. There were even questions before this game, will Allegri, not should, but will Allegri actually be at Milan next season? And Allegri was actually asked about that. He denied that he would be leaving. So that has become a bit of a debate recently. But Milan got the win. There's nothing really else to say. I do want to speak about one thing, though.
I just want to say that this game, I don't know, Allegri, people want to say that, his teams don't. I mean, I don't know what else he could have done. They were all over Cremonese.
Yeah, in this game.
Chances they got. I mean, they were just like in the first game of the season where they lost to Cremonese. They dominated that game, and they dominated this game. They didn't deserve to lose that opening game. And it just goes to show that Allegri is actually doing a good job here. I think with Milan, it's a little bit of a situation where Milan, given what's happened the last few years, a little bit of as if it's like the team, the more established players are a little bit battered mentally. And they kind of maybe need this season to kind of reboot and rehabilitate and refresh themselves. And I think Leao is a good example of that. I'm not absolving him of the misses. They weren't good misses. And if any other player did that, we would say that. So we have to acknowledge that. But I love the fact that I choose to focus more on this. Usually when he misses like that, under previous coaches, his head hangs and he's a little bit like that. But now he actually continues and he ends up scoring. So I think that's growth. And I think that I choose to focus more on that because I think overall, this has been a very positive season for Milan and also Leao. I still miss his finishing. I remember when Capello was talking about Zlatan, no other comparisons between them, or Mourinho as well, that Zlatan needed to learn how to score simple goals. That's what Leao needs to do, needs to learn as well. Score simple goals to get that tally up. And usually that comes with experience. Well, now Leao is reaching the final third of his career. He has the experience. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts scoring more as well. Simple goals, not just these unbelievable Leao moments of magic pulling rabbits out of hat goals, which he can do, but also these simple goals to become more of a reliable goal scorer. I think that comes with maturity, with experience, and I think I think overall, I think we're seeing that with Leao as well.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I do want to talk about, it's started to become a big debate now in Italy, and that is what has been described as a bit of a diving crisis in Serie A. I think that the diving has got out of hand in Serie A this season. Yes, it is part of the game, and I'm not going to sit here and blame the players because it's part of the game. But I think that when players are caught diving or simulating, they probably the lawmakers do need to look at doing something to try and punish players. I don't know what the solution is, but there was an incident in this game with Salamakers. It's one of the most. I mean, I actually think he's probably been the worst diver consistently in Serie A this season.
He's proud over it. He's going around boasting about how he always goes down because the VAR looks at it and can win a penalty. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So I think that's it, and that's a problem. And I think we need to. I think it has got out of hand. Just for a kind of a bit of fun, we had a question from one of our listeners who asked me like, who are the biggest divers in Serie A currently? So I said, all right, we'll do it as a little bit of fun. So I've picked 5 myself, and then you can butt in and give some as well. So my 5 biggest divers in Serie A are Nicola Barella. If we're talking about Catalan chipmunks, he is the Italian chipmunk when it comes to
oh my god,
diving and moaning and complaining to the ref. Alexis Salamakers, without a doubt, it's been embarrassing. some of his dives this season. The way he throws himself on the floor, it reminds me of how I used to throw myself on the floor when my mum used to take me to the store and I used to want something because she wouldn't give it to me. I used to just throw myself on the floor and demand it. Chico Conceicao at Juventus.
Yeah, he's bad.
He is pretty bad. The dives, they never lie, Chico. Is what I say to that. Pio Esposito, definitely, definitely, 100%.
No chance.
He throws. He overdoes it as well. And Gianluca Mancini as well for a defender, because I actually think that is the biggest problem with diving. Just to make a side point, it's the defenders who, as soon as an attacker gets anywhere near them, they throw themselves to the ground, and the referees always give free kicks. And this is a bigger problem. The biggest, I haven't seen a league worse at this than Serie A, and it really kills the rhythm of the game. And I hate it. I hate that more. Like I don't mind attackers doing it because again, it's part of the game. And I said that about even like players like Pio Esposito when he's protecting the ball when he wins cheap free kicks. That's good. That's a sign of a good striker. You know, okay, sometimes he overdoes it, and that's up to the referee. But when I see defenders do it, it kills the excitement and the enjoyment of the game, and I hate it. And Mancini is probably the worst at it. So those are my 5 consistency-wise. Of course, Bastoni has had the highest profile dive. Parisi also had a very high-profile one. Yerry Mina I've seen do them. But if we're talking about consistency-wise over who's been doing it consistently, I'd probably go for those 5.
I agree with four of them. I think the Pio Esposito thing is ridiculous because I don't think he dives. What he does is he wins free kicks because he's a big guy. And I think he does it. He's smart the way he dives. He does it the way that Del Piero used to do it. I used to love when he did it. And everyone, or people in Zaghi used to do it. He's so good at masking it that the referee always falls for it. And I like that. I have
think
no
he does
problem
it.
with that.
I wouldn't compare him to them because they were kind of weak guys physically. I would, because he's a big guy. So I wouldn't compare him. I would compare him to Didier Drogba. Remember Didier Drogba? Didier Drogba
Yes,
was a similar
good at that.
type of play. Back to goal, feel the contact of the man, then go down. And again, I want to be strict. I'm not blaming him for it. I think it's the sign of a good striker. He's got a good brain. He's got a cool brain. He's not emotional diving. He's
That's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant that's what I meant when I compared to people in Zaghi and Del Piero, because I'm not comparing their physique. I'm saying the style, the way they mask it, like the way that they fool the referee.
The way Zaghi was a master at pulling the shirt, grabbing. I used to do this when I played, and I learned this from Inzaghi, but it was genius because the referee would fall for it every single time. What he used to do, he would grab the player's arm or hand, then grab his shirt with the player's hand while he's locked with him, and it would look like they're pulling his shirt, but actually he was the one instigating it and pulling it. It was genius. If you've played football and you've been in a duel, you'll know exactly what I mean, because you get in these.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. No, that's what I like about Pio. He's smart. He's very mature. And even when he does the furbo, it's smart the way that he does it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do think we need to be careful though, because I think that when it becomes as a general theme overdone, that we're getting it overdone as it is right now, it starts to become a bit of a circus. And so I think they need to be a bit careful on that. Inter though, quickly, Nima, Dimarco again. I want to ask you this: how much because I think that I don't think anyone can doubt Inter are going to win the Scudetto. How much will this Scudetto mean to Inter, given the Champions League disaster? Like, how will it be viewed? I know it's a long way away, and we'll probably have forgotten about the Champions League. But come the end of the season, when Inter win this Serie A, will they even care about what happened in the Champions League, or will it kind of take the gloss off it a little bit?
I think for Inter, it won't matter one bit, because when they appointed Chievo, it was a reboot, a rebuild, the start of a new project, a new era, a new cycle. And I don't think they were counting on winning their Scudetto. That was their stated objective. And they've all been very open about that, from Barella to Akanji to Marotta to Chievo to everyone. That was the stated objective. I think they were focused on that. And I think it's obvious they were focused on that. And I think that was the main target this season. And so they will be disappointed and annoyed that they didn't get to at least the quarterfinal of the Champions League, because they would have played Sporting, and Sporting is not an impossible opponent. And Bodo Glimt, not taking away anything from them, they did really, really well. I hope they win it. I really hope Bodo Glimt win the Champions League. I'm rooting for them. They remind me of my IFK Göteborg in the 80s and 90s, where a group of local lads playing football as a team, united, fighting for the shirt, for the cause, for the city, going into Europe and beating all the pros, and showing them that football is a team sport. So I really 100%, both as a club, both as what they stand for, 100% support them. I hope they win the Champions League. I'm hoping for an Atalanta Bodo Glimt final, the year of the underdog. So that's what I'm going for. But when it comes to Inter, I think they look at it like this. I mean, now it's obvious they want to win the Coppa Italia as well, because they have a 10-point lead. I think for Inter, it's like this. If they're able to win a domestic double, and they're able to stamp and say, okay, this is the start of the Chievo era at Inter, and it ends with a domestic double, or no, not ends, but the first season ends with a domestic double, then they can start to look forward to the next step. And the next step, it's obvious. They want to change formation. Whether it's back to a back four, whether it's a 3-4-2-1 hybrid, whatever it is, They now in the summer will have to work towards that. I think they will basically use that as fuel to launch the new cycle fully in the summer in terms of the work they need to do in the transfer window. So they won't care, but people around the Serie A will say, "Oh, they won the Serie A by so and so many points, but they failed in the Champions League." And even before they, not just the Buda Glimt game, look, 5 wins, 5 losses in completion, 50% loss rate. That's not good enough, and we have to be honest about that.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think just to come in on that point, I think that you're right. I think for Inter, it's great. Winning the title is always fantastic, and you can never take that for granted. And the one team that will probably exemplifies that best is Juventus, who took winning the Scudetto 9 years in a row for granted, and now look what they've done in the next 6 years. You can never take winning your title because you don't know what's around the corner domestically, let alone in Europe. So I think they should celebrate it, but I agree. I think that from the outside, and not even within the Serie A, but from outside the Serie A, it's not a good look that this Inter team runs away with the Scudetto and dominates the league like this, and then puts in that kind of performance alongside the other Serie A teams. Let's be honest, they're apart from Atalanta, who are going to go out in the next round. They're all out early, and I think that Federico Dimarco, who scored again in this game, probably is a microcosm of that, and which is in Serie A, Dimarco's been the MVP, 6 goals, 13 assists in 25 matches. Undoubtedly the best player in the league, will deservedly win the MVP. And I like him. I've always liked him as a player. But in the Champions League, 9 matches, 1 goal, 0 assists. And it's that.
I think
that's a microcosm. Okay.
I have a theory about that. And I think it's bigger than whoever is the coach, because if you look at this era of Inter players, if you look at this era of the Lautaro, Bastoni, Barella, these senators, this core of Inter, this Inter from Conte to today, one thing you can say is, regardless of if it's Conte's the manager, Inzaghi's the manager, or Chivo's the manager, one thing is certain: Inter when Inter win the league, they don't seem to be able to go far in Europe. And conversely, when they go far in Europe, in the Champions League, they don't win the league. That is something that we need to discuss, whether that is just chance, whether that is just the manager, whether that is just, all of the above, or whether that is quality of the squad, because we can't demand a treble. That's nothing you can demand. But I do think that at this point, now we have enough.
Disease.
We have
the Antonio Conte disease. Can we call it
that? Well, you can say that, but at the same time, it's 7 years now, and 7 years with 3 managers. I think it's, we need to have a conversation about why is it? Is it just the Antonio Conte disease? Is it just you can't just blame the manager. It's something else. Is it a mentality issue? Is it a qualitative issue? What is it that prevents them? Is it the overall?
I would say that I don't think any Italian club is equipped to fight on 2 fronts. Full stop.
That's a good point.
But yeah, of course, there's probably club-specific reasons for Inter and anyone else. But I think I don't think any Italian club is equipped to.
No, I agree with that. But I do think that if we're just looking at Inter, I think we need to understand. I think that question needs to be asked. I don't know what the answer is. Personally, I'm
also, sometimes you have to look at the level of underperformance in the league as well. Like, there's a level of underperformance where you only lose the Scudetto on the last game of the season, which has happened with Inter on more than one occasion. Or there's level of underperformance like Napoli under Conte this season in Serie A, which is extreme. So it's
or Napoli or yeah, exactly. But I'm kind of lying into the season. I'm on the fence on this. But if you were to put a gun to my head and say, what do you think it is I want an answer, I'd say, actually, I think it's a combination of the situations, those years where it happened under those managers, and the weaknesses that those managers have, whether it's inexperience under Conte, a bit of nervousness under Inzaghi, or the lack of being able to manage 2 different competitions under Conte, but also coupled with a sort of mental weakness, if you will, of the core players. I think it's also a huge lack of depth, a missed opportunity that the owners of Inter during this period, where they could have gone on and do right history. There was the money wasn't there to strengthen, and so it's a little bit all of the above. But I do think that it's an important point that needs to be raised, because we have such a big sample size now that we can actually say that, well, these are just facts. Why is it like that? That's a separate discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Right, let's move on, because I have to be gone in 10 minutes, and we've got some crackers and Baggio, Premface and series of the week. So Parma 1, Cagliari 1, Torino 2, Lazio 0, Pisa, Bologna, Udinese, Fiorentina are playing on Monday night. Folorunsho, amazing goal. Just want to give a shout out to that. That should go under Baggio of the week as well, Folorunsho's goal.
Absolutely. And Coppa Italia as well. You got Como Inter on Tuesday, Lazio Atalanta on Wednesday, first legs. And that's going to be interesting.
I'm looking forward to the Como Inter one. I'm looking forward to that. Like, also from the Fabregas point of view, because his style of football has been found out by teams like Inter. So how will he change?
He has changed.
Yeah, well, he has changed.
Yeah. He has changed in the last few weeks, and it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, and now to see how they do against Inter, though. That's what
exactly,
I mean.
And that's exactly what I mean, and that's going to be really interesting. And also, how does Kivu handle this? Because how does he approach this game? Okay, Çalhanoğlu's back, Dumfries is back from injury; they're not match fit. Lautaro's not going to be there for a long, long time. Boni, there's talk of him missing the Como game and the derby because of a minor physical issue. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kivu handles this game, and also how Kivu ahead of the derby. These are all exams that a young coach has to pass in order to take the next step, just like players do. So that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Let's finish off with Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. Okay. So Baggio,
before you say who it is for you, I have to say Folorunsho, Chico Conceicao, Dimarco, Wesley. We have seen some beautiful goals this weekend in the Serie A. My God, stunning goals, absolutely stunning goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd add Marlin's finish as well. The way that he waited for Perrin to go down and he dinked it over his outstretched leg. I thought that was class. That was a class finish. Right, so Baggio, I've got two. First of all, Lorenzo Insigne is back. He had his first start for Pescara for 14 years, wearing the armband, the captain's armband, and he also scored. He scored as they came from behind Pescara to beat Palermo 2-1. Palermo, a team that had been in great form. And it was a lovely finish, but he also did some moments of magic in this game. I don't know if you saw, did a beautiful sombrero over a play, did a beautiful nutmeg. So yeah, great to see Insigne back. He's 34 now. So yeah, that was a bit of nostalgia, wasn't it? 14 years after, 14 years later.
Lovely, isn't it?
Back there. Yeah. And the second Baggio of the week, which I had no idea about this story until it was sent in to us in our research. So Sean from Inter Extra, who's a listener and patron of ours, sent in this story. So shout out to Sean. This is an amazing story. So Gigi Fresco, the manager of Virtus Verona in Serie A, is the world's longest reigning manager, 44 years. It's an incredible story. He joined Virtus Verona as an amateur team back then, as a child, as a player, and then as a youth club coach. In 1982, at the age of 21, he became the chairman and, in classical Italian style, appointed himself as manager. They were in the Terza Categoria, which is the lowest division in Italian football. And under Fresco, Virtus Verona, they climbed the Italian pyramid. They reached Serie D in 2006, then Serie C in 2013. The club's secretary, who's a lady, is 83 years old. And Fresco he's good friends with Roberto Baggio. He's obsessed with Bruce Springsteen. His mother, Signora Rina, makes risotto for all the players before every game. They've only been relegated once in 44 years. But with the club struggling this season, Fresco says he may sack himself now. He's still only 64 though, And this is the great bit. The longest serving manager of all time in football is an Englishman called Fred Everest, who was in charge for 46 years at West Bromwich Albion between 1902 and 1948. So he doesn't have much longer to go to beat that record and become the longest reigning manager in football history. Amazing story.
I love that. That is like, it's Italian football, like at its absolutely most beautiful. I love that. I love it. Absolutely.
He also moaned, Fresco, that Fred Everest, his record shouldn't count because he said 5 of those years was during World War II. And how many games will he have managed during World War II? So
he does have a point.
He does have a point.
No, but he does have a point, actually. I'm not like, it's true. It's not hard, like when there's no games being played. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I do think he has a point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the players, they listen to Imagine from John Lennon before every game. That's their song. So yeah, fantastic story, and quite an apt song for what's going on in the world right now as well. If you listen to the lyrics, right? Premface. Do you have the? Premface?
Oh, I do. Emil Heskey was in former England player and played for Liverpool, didn't he? And he was asked about. They did this like rapid fire. I don't watch his program, but it's on social media. He was asked about Erling Haaland being world class, and he said no, he's not world class. And he goes, what else does he do except score goals? Tell me what he does except score goals. And he repeated it time and time again. And I was like, and I'm like, I don't know what to say.
Only scores 60 goals a season, but yeah, that's all he does.
That's all he does.
It's a bit like that commentator last week after Donnarumma made that absolutely insane save from Harvey Barnes in the last kick of the game to win the game for City over Newcastle. And one commentator said, all Donnarumma has is generational goal shot stopping.
That's all he's got.
That's all he got, yeah.
All he's got. That's all he's got.
He's one of the greatest shot stoppers of all time, but that's all he's got.
That's all he's got. That's all he's got. You got to have standards, Carlo. You got to have standards.
Amazing. Right. Serie A of the week. I have one fantastic story which I want to say.
That story.
This is so good. So anybody that's watched The Godfather will know the immortal line that in Sicily, women are more dangerous than shotguns, right? Well, in Napoli, women are more dangerous than Mount Vesuvius erupting, as this story illustrates. There was a 40-year-old Napoli fan, male, who was hospitalized by his wife while watching the Atalanta versus Napoli game at home. The incident happened after VAR overturned a penalty for Napoli, which was a scandalous VAR decision, by the way, for those who watched it. So the man began yelling insults at the TV in frustration. His 35-year-old wife believed that the insults were directed at her, and she got very angry. An argument started. It escalated rapidly. First of all, she threw scissors at him. Then she grabbed a sharp kitchen appliance. And I have to say sharp kitchen appliance because if I say exactly what it was, the algorithm on Instagram and TikTok will block this video from being shown. So a kitchen appliance, right? The man was pierced with the kitchen appliance. You see how what the world has come to now. We can't even, it's 1984, isn't it? We can't even say words properly without getting the algorithm punishing us. Anyway, multiple of these kitchen appliances were later found at the scene. The police intervened. They arrested the woman. The victim is now hospitalized, but thankfully is not in a serious condition. And the woman is in custody. So,
well, I think we should call it. We should probably call it Norman Bates. She Norman Batesed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was mental. I saw that and I was like, a part of me was like, that it's horrible, of course, but at the same time, I am not surprised. Like, it's like, if you have any friends, women from the Middle East, women from Latin America, south of Italy, you don't mess around.
I've got a great Bedford story. I've got a fantastic Bedford story. This is absolutely amazing, right? So a couple of weeks ago, right, there's a neighborhood friends that are in the area, right? This elderly lady, I'm not sure, I think she's like in her 70s, right? And she has a daughter who is, not doing the best anyway. And a rumor went out that the daughter had beaten up the mum, right? And it went kind of all around the kind of local neighborhood. And my dad went absolutely ballistic because my dad is very, very much like, he knows the family very well. He knows the lady very well. He knows the daughter very well. And my dad went absolutely ballistic about this, and because he's very protective. And the husband of the woman, of the girl, the daughter who was supposed to have beaten up the mum, came into the cake shop, and my dad went absolutely mad at him. What the hell's the matter with your wife? What a disgrace she is. How can she do this to her own mum? Beating up her own mum. How dare she do this? And he goes, oh, he did. He's a little bit sort of like, but both of them are kind of problems with addiction. And he goes, oh, he did. People exaggerating. She didn't beat him up. She didn't beat her up. And my dad was like, well, what did she? What did she do then? Oh, she just threw a slipper at her head. It's just the way he said it.
That doesn't count.
Yeah,
that doesn't count.
So, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Just throw a slipper at your mum's head, but nothing, doesn't matter. Just remind me of that story. So, yeah. This is what happened. I think they're Neapolitan, actually. So, yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I had it was a guy I used to know who was dating a Brazilian woman, and they had a very stormy relationship. And I'll never forget when one time they had an argument, and he says, Nima, it's not easy to have a relationship with someone you're scared of.
I believe that.
I was like, yeah, maybe you want to leave. I'm not sure this is going to work out well for either of you. Like, if you're scared of the woman you're dating, right?
Oh yeah, of course you would be. Yeah. Well, my mum's Neapolitan, and we had an argument once, and she threw orange juice in my face in front at the dinner table in front of my best friend Arnie. We were having dinner, and this was when I was probably about 15, 16. We had an argument. Mum just picks up the orange juice, throws it right in my face. Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with women. Don't mess with women.
Neapolitan women, I can say for sure. They're
Iranian women, and like Middle East, like just generally women who from the southern hemisphere, if you will. From Rome and downwards, just and South America. Don't mess. They don't mess
exactly.
Like they do not. Hell hath no fury. That's all I'm going to say.
No, absolutely. Right. Did you have another one before we go?
No, that was the one I sent in the chat.
Okay. We do actually have a couple of great ones that are in our chat, which we haven't put on here, so we'll share them next week, because there was a couple of absolute belters in there, which were very funny. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's leave it at that.
We're doing a Q&A.
Yeah,
we're doing an interview. Sorry, we're doing an interview tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't want to say who it is yet, because it's been confirmed, but the time and date hasn't been 100% confirmed. So yeah. Hopefully that will
really looking forward to that.
We'll do that and then push that out this week, hopefully. Right. Okay, I need to run. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you later in the week. Ciao, ciao.